Anybody seen John Walzak? There he is. You almost got the polar bear call this morning. Our original speaker was unable to make it, but the Salvation Army helped us out before we could get you the polar bears lined up. Thank you anyway, John. Welcome to the November 21st, 2018 Thanksgiving meeting of the Rotary Club of Louisville and the Kiwanis Club. Welcome, Kiwanians. I'm Barry Barker, Executive Director of TARC, at least for another week, and Club President. And to provide our invocation for today, we welcome Walt Swires. Walt is an attorney at Walter Swires, attorney at law.
This is a club or a joint club that represents many denominations. So this is really intended to...
Please stand when I call your name. That is, if you're here. Luke Schmidt, President-elect. Tony Kemper, immediate past President. Karen Morrison, Vice President. John Jennings, Secretary. Joe Ackerman, Treasurer. And the Board of Directors, Renee Brown, Maria Smith, John Walzak. I know John's here. You get to stand up again. Rick King, Steve Eggers, Walt Canal, Gene West Lasavio, and Kevin Lynch. Let's give them a round of applause. Friends, this is typically the time of the meeting when we introduce guests. Those not currently members of Rotary or Kiwanis Club, please stand together so that we can acknowledge you. For those of you who stood up, we have a table at the back afterwards that says, what is a Rotarian? It's a heavy recruitment drive, understand. And we welcome Kiwanians in this building. Also, in the Thanksgiving spirit, I'd like to thank our servers and cooks and generally the museum staff. So let's give them all a round of applause. One thing I may mention, while it's on my mind, is if you wish to circulate the other floors of the museum after we finish the meeting, you are certainly welcome to do so. So both Kiwanians and Rotarians and guests, if you want to take a look at the museum, and it's truly got some magnificent stuff to take a look at, so please do that. Our announcer for November is Julie Schmidt, Senior Director of External Affairs for KET and a member of our Rotary Fund Board. Out of respect for our special agenda and speakers today, we'll share just a few announcements that are significant. Julie.
Thank you, Gary. Well, in this spirit of giving, we have some wonderful opportunities to get involved, and we're so glad to have the Major here with us. We have the Rotarians that will be ringing the Salvation Army bells, so please sign up through Sparks. There's a way you can just go right there and click, or see George to sign up for a time. So we'd love to see you out there on Saturday. Our Rotary Mentor Program, we're still recruiting opportunities to serve the students that are part of our Rotary Promise High School students on November the 30th. So please sign up for that. And our club's holiday party will be held on December the 5th at the Louisville Boat Club. Cocktails begin at 6, and please pre-register by November the 26th so we can have a good head count. You can contact the Rotary office if you have any further questions. And next week's meeting will be held here at the Fraser and will feature Beth Stubbs, District 6780 Foundation Chair, and the topic is Heart to Heart Rotary Foundation Project. So thank you all. Have a blessed Thanksgiving.
Kiwanians, thank you for hosting this year's meeting. It's also It is always a pleasure to spend time with you. It's very enjoyable. It is now my pleasure to welcome Michael Erskine, President of the Kiwanis Club, for his remarks and speaker introduction. Michael. See, he thought I was giving him the stage the last time he was up here. No, you get it for real this time.
That's okay. I found that one always has to be on their toes, especially when they've done all the due diligence to get a keynote speaker lined up, and then at 7:52 a.m. the day of, they get an email saying, sorry, I'm sick. So I want to also extend a profound thanks to Major Roy Williams for being here today. But before we get to all of that, I'd like to introduce and welcome the Kiwanis Club officers and directors who are here. If they are so, please stand up. Shelley Garman, President-elect. Jeff Smith, Secretary. Brian Taylor, immediate past President. Kay Manning, Treasurer. Bob Hardy, Director. Jim Ogburn, Director. Jim Etkin, Director. Lori Skelton, Director. Sarah Snyder, Director. And Megan Tipton McCoy, Director. Thank you all for your time. I'd also like to recognize Mark Garman, the past governor of the Kentucky-Tennessee District, who is here with us today. And he is here. All right. I have a few short announcements also on behalf of the Kiwanis Club. Our next meeting will be Thursday, November 29th at 12 noon at Auburn Country Club, and our program will be provided by Matthew Hudson from Project One. We also have 4 Christmas programs that we're excited to be a part of again this year. I want to make sure all Kiwanians and Rotarians who might want to participate know about these. The first is our Kiwanis Christmas is for Kids charity event. This will be located this year at the Meijer, located at 9500 Preston Highway. This is on Sunday, December 9th. This is a new location for us. Traditionally, we've done this at a Walmart location, so we moved it this year to Meijer at Preston, just past the new Gene Schneider. The event starts at 9, wraps up about noon, and our goal this year is to take 550 children shopping. Bill Spinner and Lori Skelton are not here, but I want to give a shout out to them because they've been working towards raising $75,000 this year in order to take these 550 children shopping. And if any of you are interested in coming out to that Walmart and participating to help take a child shopping, please join us. Wayside Christian Mission Christmas event will be held on a Monday in December at Hotel Louisville. We're waiting on the final dates because WHAS does their live broadcast from Hotel Louisville that morning. So once we've got that nailed down, we'll announce that. It starts at 5:30 a.m. and I know that's the time that most all of us like to be out. So make sure I get the word out about that. Heiser Hearing Institute Christmas Party. This year we're holding it on December 20th at Heiser Hearing and Language Academy. We'll have our club board meeting at 11 a.m. and then the club meeting, which will be the Christmas party itself for the children and the staff there at noon. And again, this year we're asking our club members to make donations that we will use to pay for the toys for the children. We're also thankful to Ralph Behringer. He lines up pizza for us every year, and we have a pizza party for all of the children and the staff there. So, I also want to thank Tom Mueller and Jack Mueller because they're spearheading things behind the money drive in order to get the toys for these children. Next is the Salvation Army Red Kettle program we know has kicked off. We will be volunteering at the Kroger stores at Hubbard's Lane and St. Matthews and Bardstown Road in the Highlands. We'll be there from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Saturday, December 1st, Saturday, December 8th, and Saturday, December 15th. And if you have not yet signed up and would like to, and this includes Rotarians, please see Ralph Behringer. All right. Last, if you would like to order poinsettias, Ray Glass is Collecting orders, those will be delivered on December 13th at Ogden Country Club at our weekly club meeting. So please see Ray if you'd like to place your order and have not yet already done so. All right, next I'd like to introduce Jim Etkin and Kay Manning to deliver our annual Kiwanis Rotary Ode.
Hi, y'all.
We're happy to be here. I'd like to start the ode by saying our president this year is my friend Michael Erskine. When he was elected, our hearts were a-bursting. Our president-elect is smart and quite charming. Her husband is Mark. She's our own Shelley Garman.
And now to Rotary. He drives the bus system, but he's not a bus driver. Your prez is Barry Barker, and he's a survivor. Those of you who know Barry know that's really true. He's been around a long time. Your president-elect is Luke Schmidt. I've asked for somebody's help for this particular rhyme for Luke Schmidt. Tried to think of something maybe that would rhyme with Schmidt. And so I asked a friend of mine, Greg Braun, who was president of Rotary in 2015-2016. So I'd like to acknowledge the fact that Greg Braun wrote these 4 lines. With a name like Schmidt, let me make this clear. I want to read odes to this club next year. Greg Braun, thank you. All right, we're not done yet. Both of our clubs are more than 100 years old. We've competed in bell ringing for 75, we've been told.
Well, we don't take it seriously. We do keep count. And last year, Kiwanis raised the larger amount.
The Salvation Army is really the winner, so let's have a nice Thanksgiving dinner. That's it.
I would rather sing than come up with the ode, that's for sure. So thank you, Kay and Jim, for another fantastic job with the ode. Thank you very much. All right. How many of you have heard the adage about the best laid plans and how planning to the nth degree can be futile because things change? Well, as I already indicated at the beginning of my portion of things, and Barry has already indicated as well, things happen. So Bill Whalen had every intention of being here. He was working on his presentation but took ill. Apparently he hadn't been feeling well, but it got worse overnight. So he sent his regrets. We sent our best wishes that he would get well, especially since it's the day before Thanksgiving. So we're going to call out to Jeremy Wharf, who's my go-to at the Salvation Army. And Jeremy called me back and said, can you help me out here? Can you talk to Major Roy and see if he might be available today to talk to our joint Kiwanis Rotary luncheon? And so I left a message for him, and he called me back and said, just been on the phone with Major Roy, and Major Roy said yes. So I've already said it several times, but I want to say it again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's hard to do things sometimes, but especially at the last minute. So I'd asked Major Roy before we got started today, I said, how long have you been with the Salvation Army? And he said this July, I believe he said, would be 27 years. And so he's been with the Salvation Army a long time and done many great things. So we've asked him to come and talk with us today. So Major Roy, please.
Good morning. Good morning. And thank you for having me. I had nothing to do today, so. I'm just kidding. Our kettles start Friday morning at 9 o'clock, and so when I got this call, I said yes without thinking about it, because I love the Rotarians and the Kiwanis, and you're so good to the Salvation Army, and so I would never even think about saying no to it. But it also gives me a chance during this new Christmas to talk to you a little bit about what we're doing, but I'm gonna go back and talk a little bit about some other work about the Salvation Army that I want to share with you. I want to start out with a little story first, though. You know, the lion is the king of the jungle. And one morning, the lion got up in the jungle and he said, you know, I want to go out and see if I'm still the king of the jungle. And so he went walking around, he found a rabbit, and he roared really loud, and he said, who is the king of the jungle? And the rabbit said, whoa, whoa, back up, lion. You know, you're the king of the jungle. What's going on this morning? He said, thank you. And he walked on and he found a monkey. He roared as loud as he could, and he said, who is the king of the jungle? And the monkey said, whoa, slow down. What's going on with you today? We all know you're the king of the jungle. So he said, okay, and he started walking on, and he came up to an elephant, and he roared really loud, and he said, who's the king of the jungle? And the elephant took his trunk and reached down and picked him up, shook him a couple times, dumped him in the water, and threw him back down. Which the lion got up and said, hey, if you didn't know the answer, you didn't have to get mad about it. Well, if you don't know the answer at the end of this, don't get angry, just come and ask me, because the Salvation Army is doing a lot of things in a lot of communities. We are in 128 countries around the world as of today. In the United States last year, we served 30 million people through the Salvation Army in every zip code of the United States. That's almost 10% of the population, and that's one person every second that we help. And so we do a lot of things in the Salvation Army, and I'm going to focus on two today. One is we're going to talk a little bit about our disaster work with all the disasters that just happened, and then I'm going to end it with this year's Christmas, and I'll take a short time with that. So Louisville, if you don't know, Louisville has a mobile canteen that is ready to move in case of disaster, and we keep it. It can handle 5,000 meals when it leaves our place and goes out, and it can cook all those meals right in that canteen. It doesn't need anything else to service. And so whenever there's a disaster, our canteen gets called and we roll out. We went to Florida, the Hurricane Irma. We went to North Carolina for Florence, Hurricane Florence. And we went to Florida for Hurricane Michael. And actually our canteen is still, it's on its way back from Hurricane Michael, but it went down there and stayed the time for that. And we normally, when we send our canteen, we send a crew to go with it, and they'll stay for 2 weeks. And then after 2 weeks, they'll come home, and if they ask us, we'll send another crew, or if not, if they've got another crew, they'll go on. And then once they're done, they send our canteen back to us. Back in 2017, we also went to Hurricane Harvey, and that's what I'm going to share a little bit. I got the opportunity to go to that one, and let me see if I can get, there we go. So there's my team. I got a phone call that said, you need to go to Beaumont, Texas, and you're going to serve for 2 weeks, and you're the incident commander, which that means I was in charge of the crew that they were going to send down there. And they sent me a crew of 9 members and 5 canteens. And they said that we're going to serve Beaumont, it's called the Golden Triangle, Beaumont, Orange, and Port Arthur, Texas. So we got down there, and we couldn't even get in. We stopped off at Lake Charles, Louisiana, and my whole team met at a hotel there. And we talked about what we're going to do for the next 2 weeks. I've been to a lot of disasters. I've always come, I'm not late, but I came the second or third round. I've never gone in on a disaster where I was the first one to roll into a city and start providing help. And so I got that opportunity in Beaumont. So when we got there to Lake Charles, to the hotel, I called the Texas headquarters and said, all right, my crew is here. We're ready to roll in the morning. Where are we going and what are we doing? And they said, we don't know. No one's on the ground. You just need to go in there and find out what's happening. And so we said, okay. So instead of sending these big canteens in, because we didn't know what the roads were and all, we took a small crew with a 4-wheel drive truck, and we started heading in. This is a line of our crew the last day we were there. So this was our first day rolling in. That was a rest area going into Beaumont. And it was brand new, hadn't even opened yet. It was completely underwater. And we started heading there just to see what was going on and to see where we were going to be at. These were the roads. There was a few places we drove for 2 miles through 1.5 feet of water. What normally takes 45 minutes to go from Lake Charles to Beaumont took us 3 hours to get through. Once we got there, we found out where we would set up a site, what we would do, and we found out a route that our canteens could make it. The truck we had was much bigger, and to get through it, we had to find a route for them. And then the next morning, we got up, and our crew went on in to start serving. I've got a few pictures of, this is one of the houses where they were flooded, and all their pictures, they hung them out on the line. Whenever you go to a disaster and you're the first ones there, people are just doing whatever they can to save whatever they can from their belongings. And I just thought this was an incredible picture of them trying to save all the family photos. There's little things, I think, when I go to a disaster, when you see the mass of it, you don't think about the little things. And so this picture kind of struck me with that. And then you'll see on the road, everybody's belongings. They drag them all out and put them out on the street. And the smell is a mildew smell that you can't get away from it. You smell it everywhere you go. And so that was some of the stuff that we just took pictures. And this was street after street, neighborhood after neighborhood, all through Beaumont. This was the Salvation Army thrift store. This was when the water came down a little bit. It was 3 foot and underwater at one time. And also the Salvation Army of Port Arthur, their community center was completely destroyed. It had to be bulldozed over after this was over. It was not safe again after this. When I got to Beaumont, I had heard when I was coming down there that they had a gymnasium and they had 100 people sleeping in a gym. And once I got there, the city, the water had turned off in Beaumont, and so they would not allow us to house anybody. And so we had already gotten buses down there to move them to a place that they could have water and take showers and everything. So when I got there, the site was empty. They got the water on in about 3 more days. We were able to bring some of them back so they could be closer to their homes with that. This is a canteen. As I said, we rolled into town with 5 canteens and started serving in neighborhoods. And the canteen, when we first get there, it's the canteen's job to do all the cooking on that canteen. And so they started doing the cooking, and they started serving lunch and dinner every single day. Anybody who wants to come up and have a meal, hot meal, comes up and gets it. Normally there's 2 or 3 people inside that canteen cooking anywhere from 2 to 5,000 meals for that day. Now, it's really hard to continue doing that day after day, cooking in this little tiny thing. So while they're doing that for the first 3 or 4 days, my team is working at finding a kitchen, a large kitchen. Sometimes we use high schools, we use hotels, and has a big enough kitchen that can pump out 15 to 20,000 meals a day and get them ready for us. We also have a great relationship with the Baptist Disaster Group, and they've come in. They normally use our equipment. They have some of their own. They come in and they set up a mobile feeding area, and they start doing all our cooking for that. I just had to throw a picture in there of me. Anytime going in the first 2 weeks, you go in there, you have nothing. You try to find a warehouse, and then you start calling people to start sending you stuff. So one of the things nobody had were they were getting ready to go back into their homes, but they didn't have masks to keep the mildew and all down. And so every time we get masks, I normally didn't work on the canteen. I was back at operations, but if we did get them shipped in, I would run out to one canteen and just start handing out masks to try to keep people from not getting any sicker from all that was going on. This was a warehouse. We ended up finding a 70,000 square foot warehouse when we got there. It had to be cleaned. It took us 3 days to clean it and get it ready to start moving in the stuff that we're going to need to start helping people. And then this is our line. Once we got everything in there, we started having food boxes delivered, water delivered, ice delivered. We started, we would work with the TV stations, work with the radio. We put a call out that says, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, we will start giving out food boxes, water, and ice, anybody who wants to come. They would pull up in their car. They didn't even have to get out of their car. They don't fill out any information. They don't sign anything. They just pull up and say, we need it. When they pull up, we have volunteers that load it. We ask them, how many families are you picking up for? They tell us, we load their vehicle up and they move on. The line, every time we would, and we did this until we ran out of stuff and waited for the 18 wheels to show up again. The line would be about 2 miles long of cars lining up to get help, and would last from about 9 in the morning, and we would normally run out between 3 and 4, where we'd have to say, just listen to the radio. As soon as our trucks come back in again, we'll be loaded back up and ready to serve you again. My last picture on this was a picture of the young lady in the middle there by the one by the yellow shirt. She showed up as soon as we opened up the warehouse. Her and her family, she had a daughter that was in high school, and her husband showed up and started volunteering for us. We can't do any of this disaster work without volunteers. And we had hundreds and hundreds. And the reason this story here was our last Sunday there. She came every day, her and her husband and her daughter. For 2 weeks, they came every day. The last Sunday we were there, they said to us, they had not even been to their house yet to see if it made it. And so that morning, her and her husband went out to where their house, they couldn't get into the neighborhood. There was no access to it for 2 weeks. And they went into the neighborhood, their house was completely gone. They lost their house. And they come back and said, well, we're here to volunteer. And I was like, you lost your whole house? And she said, well, there's nothing we can do about that, but we can help the people that are coming right now. We'll figure that out, and we'll work with them. And so that last Sunday, we had a word of prayer around that family and all the volunteers we had. That's the kind of things that happen at these disasters. It's amazing the people who come out to help. There's no politics involved. There's no race involved. It's just people coming together to help. And so that 2 weeks we're there, whenever they call us to go on a disaster, they ask us to be able to serve for 2 weeks, for 14 days. It's 1 day travel down, 12 days of working, and a 1 day traveling home. In those 12 days, we served 68,000 hot meals, 18,000 food boxes, 9,000 cases of water, and 9,000 bags of ice. And that was just the Tri-City Beaumont. That wasn't even Houston. That supposedly got hit harder, and then you can go through all these disasters. When a disaster hits and the Salvation Army goes into town, we go in, we find a place, we find volunteers, and we serve that community. If you make a donation to the Salvation Army disaster, 100% of your money goes. If you write me a check here in Louisville for $1,000, Louisville does not keep any of that money. All $1,000 goes straight to that disaster. And so that's what we do on disaster. This was an incredible opportunity for me to go be one of the first ones in and be able to set up every little thing and get it going. After 2 weeks, another crew comes in a day before I leave, and my crew trains that crew, and we get them out. When we left, that long line I showed you earlier, we had 13 canteens out serving every day, and serving. We were up to about 16,000 meals a day at the end of my 2 weeks. And another crew came in and kept on going, and I believe a third crew came in for that one and served for 6 weeks there. So that's some of the stuff about the Salvation Army, and I'll have a chance for questions and answers, but I want to talk a little bit about this year's Christmas for the Salvation Army too, since it does start, for us, Christmas really started back in June. We started working on a plan of how we're going to tackle Christmas. The first thing is, who are we going to help? And so we do a system down at the Salvation Army where if you need help, instead of us saying that we're going to open the doors at 9 o'clock on October the 1st, and if you want help, come down and sign up and do that. All that does is create a long line around our building. People that are angry, they're standing there for hours to get help. And so my wife she runs the whole Angel Tree program, does a tremendous job. And so instead of that, the whole month of September, we have appointment letters. And all you do is you come down, you pick up an appointment letter, it will tell you when to come back and what time to come and what to bring. And so that way, when they come back, they're ready for us and we're ready for them. They don't stand in a line when they come back because we schedule 20 families every 15 minutes. We have enough volunteers to handle it. And they come back, and we've been doing that now. This is our 4th year, and every year, the people who come say, thank you so much. I can go to work. I don't have to miss a whole day in order to get help. I can schedule around my kids. And so that's how we start in September taking those. Then the whole month of October for 4 weeks, we take those applications and we get all the information we need, the clothing size of the kids, what type of toy they would like. And from there, we start with getting our Angel Tree up. The Angel Tree, right now, we've got 7,000 children in Louisville that we're going to help this year. 2,600 families signed up for help. And we will definitely be able to help, because of people like you, definitely be able to help all those for Christmas. They will come, we schedule 40. The other thing that's amazing my wife does, she puts together this warehouse where it works so smoothly, we can schedule 40 families every 15 minutes, and no one stays in our building longer than 5 minutes. They come in, they get their stuff, they're going. We think we don't want people to stand in line because they want presents for their kids. We don't want to make a hardship just getting the presents. We try to make it as easy as we can. And so that's what our Angel Tree program looks like. Of course, most people know us for ringing the bell. And most people think of the Salvation Army. I like to say the Salvation Army is a nickel and dime organization because we'll stand out in the cold and ring a bell for nickels and dimes. But our goal this year, those nickel and dimes add up, our goal is $565,000. That's a lot of nickels and dimes. And we thank both of you for coming out and volunteering. I got a 1-minute video we want to show. If you could show that video, and I'll finish my speech.
We ask this all in the precious and wonderful name of Jesus. And everybody said, amen.
I know for the gratification that the Salvation Army was there for me when I was homeless, you know, and the gratification of seeing people, smiles on their faces, you know, and they come up and they hug me, you know, and I feel like I'm giving back to the community. Smiling and shaking people's hands, and then the time of need, praying with them. That's the thing that they need, and, you know, what they like to see in the morning. A good morning smile, and a good handshake, a good hug. That's what the secret is, you know, making people laugh, you know. Makes their day.
So the Salvation Army has a goal of $565,000. We have 22,000 hours to fill to try to reach that goal. And so not all of our bell ringers are volunteers. So that little 1-minute clip was the Salvation Army's, some of our paid bell ringers. Tommy Miller there was last year our #1 bell ringer, he averaged $54 an hour ringing the bell. We paid him $8.25 an hour. So he did real well. Now, I asked you to pray for his family. He actually signed up to ring a bell again this year, and 2 weeks ago he passed away suddenly. So I didn't even, when y'all asked me to do this, I pulled this out and I didn't even realize he was on there. But he was one of our best bell ringers with that. So we are always looking at other ways to raise money as well, through the bell ringing program, of course. And the bell ringing program just doesn't support Christmas. If it didn't support Christmas, I'd be in real trouble. You'd probably see me on the TV a lot. Our first goal is to raise enough money to pay off everything we need to do to help these 7,000 children. But we also take the money that's left over and continue with all the other programs that we have. And so the last thing I'll share with you for question and answer is you have on your table, this year, we know there's a lot of people who say, I just can't get out there and ring that bell. I just don't have the time, I don't have the employees. So we have a paper on your table, it's called The Power of One Kettle. And this is the first year we're doing it. And what it is if you can't ring a bell, we'll bring a kettle to you on December the 1st. You take it to your company, your church, or your school, and we'll come back and pick it up on December the 20th, and and you try to raise $1,000 in that kettle. Do the best you can with that, or do better, and we think that's going to help us get over that goal that we're trying to reach. So take a look at that if you'd like to help us. You'll see there are some tips in there of how you can raise that money. There's also a talk sheet about how ringing that bell not only provides Christmas for kids, but also we serve a hot meal for breakfast and for dinner every day, 365 days a year. 400 people every day come to us for a hot meal. Of course, our shelter and all the other stuff we do. And so I thank you, and I thank Louisville. You guys come out and support us every year. You understand what we do, how important it is, and so I say thank you for what you do. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Well, when you, help me understand, when you get down to Texas, for example, this is one example, you have your canteens, but that's, apparently was a big area. There are other Salvation Army folks, maybe from Memphis or other parts of the country that go there, and they're in another part of town with you, correct?
Well, for Beaumont, I was the only one, and my team was the only one in Beaumont from the Salvation Army. There was a Red Cross that was there.
Okay.
There's other organizations, but we were the only ones from the Salvation Army for the Beaumont.
So then, if you get down to a town like that, your canteens don't have all that food. You don't drive it down. Let's say there was a big event here, a disaster here. Would you get food from somebody like Dare to Care or something like that?
We would ask everybody that has food, yes. So when we got to town, our 5 canteens had enough, basically they each had 5,000 meals apiece on them, ready to go. We always roll with them between 3,000 and 5,000 meals ready to go. And we try to get at least a day or 2 days in. By that time, the rest of my team, the 9 players I had on my team, we are setting up where else can we cook at, where can we get food. Normally a disaster that is that big, like what Beaumont got hit, it's almost easy. It's hard work, but it's almost easy because people are calling us. We were unloading, after the 3rd day of being in that warehouse, we were unloading 10 tractor trailers a day into the warehouse with food, water, ice. Walmart steps up, Kroger, I mean, just everybody starts calling and saying, they step up. Papa John's Pizza sent a $250,000 check, said help those people and from her, not just Beaumont, but all of Hurricane Harvey. It's amazing how many people come together and help. It's amazing how many people drop everything they're doing. Whether they got company, they got businesses, and they say, we're here to help. We want to get our city through this disaster. And so it's pretty incredible. Any other questions? I thank you so much for having me this morning. I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you again, Major Roy. While it's coincidence that we were able to get you to come and talk today, and what you talk about, all of the work of the Salvation Army shows us how thankful each and every one of us should be. So again, thank you for that. I'd now like to ask Barry, if you would like to come and close out our meeting today. Thank you.
Be careful, be safe, and above all, enjoy. We're adjourned.